We recently launched a new website for a brand that immediately saw an increase in organic SEO traffic. And do you want to know how we did it? Two things. Number one, we optimized the site for SEO. And number two, we optimized the site for user experience by thinking about the customer journey. Look, if you're planning to design and build a new website, there couldn't be a better time to set the right foundations for your success and launch a brand at a higher level. In this video, I'm going to walk you through our website design SEO process to design, develop and optimize your site for search SEO at the same time from the ground up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to know how to get more people reading or watching your content and buying from you online. Hello, I'm Neil Chef, helping brands create content online strategically. If you have a website already, I'd love to know how much it cost you. Add the figure in the comments below. My very first website over 10 years ago cost me £20,000, and after 6 months of design and development, I realized I missed the biggest part of building an online presence. How people were actually going to find my brand online. In other words, marketing. It was no wonder we had no online traffic. Now I'm going to show you how to design and build a site that is optimized for search SEO and marketing from the ground up to avoid wasting time and money and the frustration of having to do things again just like me 10 years ago. Now the funny thing is, we're not even going to be talking about design or development until later on in the video. And some of these steps may not apply to you if you do not currently have a website, so feel free to skip those steps. Step 1, how well is your existing content performing? Now, if you're going to spend all this time and money designing a new website, then why not use this opportunity to clean up your house and take across only what's needed? Imagine you've got your old website up here and you've got your new website down here. You're basically holding a sieve or a strainer to filter out pages that don't add value to your website, to your users and overall your brand, and thereby only take across the best content which allows you to create a meaningful site and a brand. So let's walk through some of the key considerations when you're thinking about trimming your content down. To start off with, I would recommend using Google Analytics to see the content users like to visit and spend time on, as these are pages you want to end up keeping. There's also going to be content that users visit that have a high exit rate, which basically means this is content that actually doesn't reflect their expectation and could actually be something that you need to improve as opposed to remove. Now, if your content is getting links from other websites, that's a really good sign you've got some strong content, and it's definitely worth protecting this content to protect your overall domain authority for Google and SEO. Another idea is you could also analyze what content is actually ranking in search engines, as those are going to be high value pages worth keeping because they're helping you to get in front of new people. You're going to come across pages that clearly need to stay versus other pages that just might need a bit of consideration and potentially a team debate. So, be open to reviewing your content and making that list and filtering it out to help you clean up your website. Step 2, run a technical SEO analysis of your existing site. Now, I know I'm at risk of losing a few people with this step, but I'm going to keep this very high level. Look, to help Google to crawl your website and basically love your brand, Google needs to be able to go through your site quickly and easily. And that's where technical SEO optimization comes into the picture. Just to clarify, this step is not about technically optimizing your existing website, as that's clearly just a waste of time. We are simply identifying technical SEO issues that should be considered and resolved as part of the migration to the new website. For instance, 404 pages, redirect loops, or site architecture limitations that could be holding your organic performance back need to be reviewed and corrected as part of the new site development. Most of what you find during this stage should feed into the development stage and feed into the developer's work. If you're following me so far and finding this helpful, please like the video, I'd really appreciate it. Step 3, keyword research. Imagine building a gym. One of the first questions you're going to be asking yourself is, what should my gym include? Now let's say we did some market research and found that most people in that town who are looking for a new gym love to do group classes like yoga, Zumba, or even spinning classes. I'm sure you'll agree that knowing this information up front is very important, as it will be helpful to how the gym is designed and built in the future. And keyword research is essentially researching what your market is searching for in search engines, i.e. Google, so that we can put our website architect hat on and define how the website should be laid out and how the pages should interact with each other. And if you skip this step, you could end up building something for yourself and actually not something your audience wants or needs. A bit like building a gym with heavy weights, treadmills, and a rowing machine, all the things I'm not very good at, which clearly is not what the market wants in the example I discussed. Step 4, define the site architecture. As mentioned in step 3, we do keyword research to help us define the architecture of the website. Similar to hiring an architect when you're building a new house, this is a very crucial step as it begins to lay the foundations of how the content's going to come across the new site. Look, if you want a blog, you need to include it in your architecture. If you want a lookbook, then this is where you need to talk about it. If you want a separate educational or training area, again, let's make sure it's baked into the overall site layout. As you go through this exercise, you're going to notice holes or confusing user experience areas. My general rule of thumb is if your website's not going to work for users, it's not going to work for Google. And a quick tip here is you could actually bring your users into the design process and ask them for their opinions. Now, since you're designing a brand new site, I would also recommend you use this step to define how many pages require unique design to keep your overall design costs and efforts as efficient as possible. In other words, what pages can use the same template designs. So for instance, a service page or a product page should be able to follow the same design, look and feel if they hold similar information. This is also better from a user experience point of view, as they know what to expect as they navigate around your website. Step 5, how do you want to structure the information on each page? In this step, we take the list of unique template designs, and for each one, we need to define 3 things. Number 1, what information do we want to present on the page? Number 2, what does this page need to rank for in Google for what keyword? And number 3, how do we want to arrange the information on the page? Now, before we get into these, it's important to keep in mind that you're doing this for your audience. This is all about giving them the information they need in a way that they want to digest it as quickly as possible. So if you can get your customers involved in this process, even better. For example, when it came to rebranding our agency to Bubble and building our new homepage, we wanted to take people through a journey around what, why, and how we are helping brands online. We also took our customers' feedback on board during the process and really just asked them along the way what they thought. Okay, let's look at the first point and see some examples of information you could include on the page. First of all, the problem you are solving. You could also include the solution you're offering. You could include stories of customers you've helped in the past. How about some testimonials? Calls to action to make it as easy as possible for your users to take the next step with you. What about email or messenger opt-in forms to start getting to know you and nurturing that lead in that conversation? What about some standard FAQs that customers always ask? Okay, now the second step. What does this page need for SEO to rank and get found for a particular keyword? First of all, you need to ensure this page has the right information to rank for a keyword. Think about it. If users are searching for website design SEO tips, and my content mostly talks about how to build a website using WordPress, this is clearly not a good fit for that user and therefore Google. So we really need to understand what our users and Google's expectations are for a particular search term. Now, clearly, you know your industry, so you're going to have a really good idea of what people are looking for and what questions they are asking, but to really triple your chances of getting found for that keyword, I'd recommend doing some Columbo detective research into what information Google wants you to include. And you can simply do this by looking at what other sites that are ranking for this term on page 1, what they talk about, what information do they have on their site, and integrate that into your content. Now that you know what information the page requires, it's time to lay this out. And how you lay this information out on your page really depends on your industry and audience, but as long as you take them through a logical journey or a story, you will be right on track. Have you noticed that we haven't even mentioned design as we're focusing on the fundamentals of your digital marketing, your audience, content, and your SEO? Step 6, define your tone of voice. As Elmore Leonard said, if it sounds like writing, I rewrite it. This is the difference between copy written in a specific style and tone of voice and copy that is not. What's your brand style and tone of voice? My style is simple, non-technical, conversational, and personal. You'll notice that style on my blog, and it's easy for me to continue with it as it's close to how I speak. For bigger brands, this is going to be a bit tougher to do, but it's also a great occasion to get your team behind a project and share their views and examples of copy and language they feel is authentic to the brand. When we're working with larger brands, we love to run workshops and interviews with staff, really getting to know them and how they like to talk to customers and some of the phrases they like to use. You could also get your customers involved and find out what they like about your communication, what they don't. You're going to need some thick skin, but it's better to get some feedback than not to get any feedback. There's so many things you can do here to help shape your online voice, but in the end, you want to aim for a tone of voice guide that you can simply refer to whenever you're creating copy in the future and all of your team can get behind and support. Step 7, write your message and story with quality copywriting. Now that you have a rough idea of the layout of each page in step 5 and defined your tone of voice in step 6, you can begin writing your message. This is the most or one of the most important steps in designing and developing your new website, as it will help to shape the new website design. Because if you don't know what your message or story is, how can you even think about the design? Especially if you want your designs to be authentic and be meaningful for your customers. Copy that draws emotions and engagement takes time and experience, so don't rush this process, even if your manager is screaming at you to get it done. Once you're happy with your first draft, go back and make sure the copy is optimized for your target keyword. This is going to take some competitor research, but it's definitely well worth it. And whilst you're here, you might as well create your SEO meta titles and descriptions so they are ready to add when the site is developed. This is a really crucial point coming up, so I want you to really pay attention. This is an iterative process. Don't aim for perfection. You can write your message and copy, and then during the design process, you can always tweak it. You can make changes to your copy to help you fit the design. So whilst we start with our message and story first, that's not to say you cannot change it as you get into the design. We do it all the time when we're working on projects. Step 8, website design. With the research done, architecture established, pages laid out, and the copy and the overall message in place, you have not only given your designers a head start, you have massively increased your chance of launching a new website successfully. I'm going to share a few things I've done in the past that will help you to create an outstanding design. The first tip is to create a board on Pinterest where you can add clippings and things you like and you want your brand to represent. Find websites with interesting designs, concepts. You could give your designer specific screenshots of elements and features you like. I've also used design sites like Behance to be a good place for inspiration and to give my designer even more ideas. Another recommendation is to get your team involved and share opinions of things people like and dislike. Someone does need to be the ultimate decision maker though. because if you do end up going around in circles and getting too many ideas, you might not actually move forward. So just make sure and be careful about that. Another thing that has worked is generally to maintain an open communication channel during the design process. Move in small steps and get feedback early on from the team and the designers and get everyone involved so that you're moving together with the overall look and feel. And lastly, as mentioned in step 7, as each page is designed, don't forget to review and improve the copy to make sure it fits the page and the key message still has impact. Step 9, website development for users and marketing. By now, you should have chosen the platform you want to build your website with. And before developing your website, it's important to cover any SEO and content management system specifications to ensure your site development doesn't ignore the work that you've put in up until now. First of all, when it comes to SEO, you want to ensure your site is built out in a way that Google can read and crawl and experience easily to find your most important pages. Remember the technical SEO analysis we ran earlier? We now need to ensure our findings are taken into account before the site's developed. It's also important to take into account the architecture diagram to concisely lay out the pages and show how they are connected and check for any technical limitations with your platform in meeting these requirements. For example, I know Magento is built in such a way that a product cannot appear under 2 different categories unless it is duplicated, which could impact your SEO if it's not managed properly. It's important these considerations are reviewed and resolved. I'd also recommend walking through one of your page layouts with the developer to identify structural SEO requirements you will need to consider and implement, for instance, H1 and H2 tags. With regard to your content management system, I generally like the WordPress experience. For instance, being able to update meta titles and descriptions, add and remove content, and just make changes to content structure like H1 and H2 headings is important and easy to do. Technical site development and SEO optimization is pretty big topic in itself and a pretty complex one, which we definitely don't have scope for in this video, but I'd suggest sitting down with your development team and just going through this with them to ensure you end up with a site that is flexible and is built on super strong foundations. Step 10, redirect plan. If you are replacing an existing website and making architectural changes that are going to change the URL structure, then you need to create a redirect plan that allows you to tell users and search engines the new version of a page. You're basically telling users to go down another path to find the information, product or services they are looking for. That's pretty much it. Not redirecting a website correctly is one of the biggest reasons behind large SEO traffic falls when businesses decide to build a new website. We were working with a client recently who migrated their website before they started working with us to a new platform, and within a few months had lost 90% of their organic traffic. They were originally getting 30,000 visitors per month, and that went down to just over 3,000. As you can imagine, this kind of drop had a major impact on their online sales and was largely due to the fact they had no redirect plan in place. So don't be silly, create a redirect plan. Step 11, testing the site on a staging server. Every new website should be fully tested in a staging server or test environment before it is released into the world to see. Here's a few things you should include in your testing. All buttons are working, pretty simple. Email forms work. Redirect plan has been put in place and implemented. The UX of the page looks good. There's no typos in the copy. The SEO meta titles and descriptions have been entered. The website loads fast. The robot text file and the sitemap files have been created and implemented. Get at least 3 different people checking and testing the site. Ideally, people who haven't been heavily involved from the beginning in the new site design, as they will see the site in a totally different way. Step 12, go live and test. Your site has been researched, designed, developed, and tested. You are now ready to show the world your new website. As soon as your website goes live, you want to start testing everything you tested during the pre-go live test, checking that nothing has broken during the migration. Pay particular attention here to the implementation of the redirect plan by checking that the right pages come up when navigating to the old version of a page. Also, ensure your forms are all working. Nobody likes losing a lead or a sale. On top of this, you want to ensure you start telling Google about your new site by getting analytics and console set up and submitting your sitemap. Those are 12 strong steps to help you design a website that doesn't just look good, but actually performs for your business. And now that you've built a really strong SEO foundation around your new website, you're not going to climb the rankings unless you apply ongoing SEO and storytelling. So if you want to take ownership of your organic SEO presence, then check out my free SEO course in the description below. Thanks for watching, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and go watch another video to learn how to build crazy amounts of awareness online.